I got socks on today, so
The feet aren't out for free.
the feet are put away unless you're into socks. Which,
And then I can just take mine out.
slut.
They're kind of dirty.
That's okay. Some people are into that.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, if I was going to pay for feet, I wouldn't want them to be clean. Remember that guy who wanted to pay me to tickle my feet?
Yes.
God, what a time to be alive.
Yep. It'd be like that.
All right.
Hi, my name's Rowan.
Hi, my name is Alyssa.
And this is what we're not taking to our graves.
Today, we are talking about the mental load of motherhood.
And other things, probably.
And other things, probably. Yeah, like, let's not sit here and pretend like we're going to stay on topic.
At all. No, but it is hard to find a good starting point on this, I feel like. Especially now because our kids are getting a little older. We're not, like, in the throes of it as much. But there's a few different branches of it.
No, I agree. I was thinking about this today because we decided we were going to talk about this at, 8 a.m. this morning?
Yes.
Before you became a mom, did you have any idea what the mental load of motherhood was? Like, realistically, like, before you came, I'm talking before you even became pregnant. Because I think we both had, you were married for, what, how long were you guys married?
Before Preston was born?
Before you got pregnant.
Before I got pregnant 8 months into marriage.
Okay. You guys were together for about 2 years, though,
Yeah,
right?
together,
Okay,
but
together.
married 8 months.
So, before you even got pregnant, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we both got pregnant kind of, not really on purpose, right? That's correct.
I feel like that's fair.
Okay. But we were thinking about becoming moms. What did you think was going to be the hardest part of becoming a mom? Right, because we were both married.
Yeah.
And then we were like, okay, time to have the babies. What did you think was going to be the hardest part of that?
I probably just thought I was going to be tired. It was going to be adjustment. But, like, that was so surface level. It wasn't a real thought, honestly. I think I was just kind of in la-la land. I mean, respectfully, I wasn't even 21. I conceived Preston sometime before my 21st birthday. And I found out the weekend of my 21st birthday. I just didn't have a single clue at all. I mean, it was in my head that I always wanted to be a mom. So I had that blissful ignorance.
I had no insecurities. I had no doubts. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this mom thing. I'm gonna have 7 kids. Like, I was so confident in my ability to just rock this shit. And I was a nanny at the time. Mm-hmm. And I used to joke all the time that I was getting, like, paid on the job training. I was so confident that because I had, like, worked in childcare and I had had experience as a nanny and, like, babysitting growing up and, like, all of these things, I was so confident that having a child of my own would not be life altering.
Yeah, I get that.
And I was not nervous. Like, I was like, I got this. This is no big deal. Kind of like you said, like I anticipated being tired, right? Because I feel like I had enough forethought to realize that, like, I wasn't going to get to, like, leave the kid at work at 5 o'clock and go home. Like, I knew that. Like, I knew the kid was going to come home with me and, like, just be there nonstop. But that was really it. I was like, man, it's going to suck to, like, get up in the middle of the night and feed the baby. And that was kind of it. Like, that was kind of where I was like, man, that's going to be the worst part.
I had no idea. And it's that, age-old thing. It's like, you don't know what you don't know. And I really did not know. And I used to get so mad when people who had had children would let me know, like, how hard it was. Because I'm like, I get it. It's going to be hard. Just let me figure it out. Like, I got this. Like, I would literally get so angry. And, of course, I was pregnant, so extra... extra mad irrationally because respectfully hormones. So I would get so pissed off. And it was true, obviously. And now I know.
So when do you feel like the actual gravity of the mental load kind of sank in? Like, probably before you even knew what the word was, right?
It was definitely before I knew what the word was. I don't think I had an understanding of truly what the mental load was until much later. I feel like I started to feel it pretty quickly because of the way my labor and delivery went and the lack of support I had. But I had no idea what that was. And I was just miserable and exhausted and trying to find my way up from drowning. So I don't really think I even had time to consider what it was. And then as Preston got older and things got slightly easier in some ways when you're not in the, like, immediate throes of newborn life, I feel like that's when I kind of realized, like, something was going on.
I feel like with me, I think that after Ella was born is when my OCD really exploded. And up until that point, I still had not been diagnosed. And so I had no clue what the fuck was going on in my head. I think that I kind of created more of a mental load than there actually needed to be. Because honestly, like, looking back in hindsight, life was pretty chill. Was it hard? Absolutely. But, like, I had it pretty decent. But my brain was just going non-stop. And part of that was things that, like, my partner probably could have helped with. But, like, I didn't necessarily know even how to vocalize that. And we were 21 years old. So, yeah. So, I think in the beginning, I think that the mental load was, like, half real and half made up in my head.
Do you feel like you're discrediting yourself, though?
No, I really don't.
Do you feel like you're looking at it objectively?
I
like
think
hindsight?
yeah, I do. Because, for example, one of the things that, like, always pops into my head when I think about this is that once all 3 kids were alive, right? Like, once they were all born. I don't even know if you remember me doing this, but if any of them had a dirty diaper, whether it was pee, poop, whatever it was, all 3 of them got a diaper change. Yes. Ella, Jack, Finn.
I do know that. You kidding me? I was definitely there for that.
It did not matter. If the other 2 were dry, you all got a diaper change. Because I will be damned if I finish changing this diaper and then 20 minutes later you have a shit, and then 20 minutes later you have a shit. And, like,
gosh.
Like, I'm eliminating the chances. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't make sense. No, it didn't make sense. Rowan, don't nod your head.
No, but it makes sense. Because
even if I change Jack's dry diaper now, he could still shit in 20 minutes, and then I got to change all their diapers again.
I understand it didn't make literal sense, but it made sense. I get where you were coming from. That's all I'm like, yeah. Because in your head, you're like, if every 10 to 15 minutes I'm changing another diaper, like, you would go insane.
And so, like...
I get what you're trying to achieve is all.
Yes, no. And so, like, some of it was real, yes. But some of it was also, like, mental illness, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and so... I think that for me, it was very hard to kind of differentiate.
Yeah, that's correct.
Which was which.
Yeah.
I really struggled with that. And I really struggled with, am I correct for being angry at my partner for not taking this on? Is this a normal thing that, like, a partner should take on? Or is this a thing I'm making up in my head? Am I allowed to be angry because he only changed one kid's diaper? You know what I mean? Like, I really did struggle with that. And I remember, like, just staring at him and wondering, am I supposed to be mad at you right now? Is that fake or real? Am I actually mad at you, or am I just frustrated that I didn't do it?
I think that you were valid for how you're feeling, because I think if you're in a healthy relationship where you're feeling supported in other ways, I don't think you're going to feel that resentment, you know?
I don't know. It was really interesting. It was very much this thing of, like, I remember feeling so incredibly frustrated because I was the only one who knew birthdays or what medicines were allergic to, or, like, when they were itty bitty babies and trying solid foods for the first time, what foods they had a slight reaction to, and so we needed to kind of watch them the next time they tried them. Or what diaper brands Ella was allergic to because Ella was allergic to diaper brands. Or what vaccine was it that Ella had a really bad reaction to, and that's the reason why the twins are on such a delayed schedule. Or, you know, all of these things. And it was just so overwhelming. And it, you know, those were things I didn't expect when I became a mom. And I remember, I think when the twins were about 3.5, 4, I remember sitting down and my mom being like, bro, we're good. I forgive you. We're cool. Like, I'm so sorry for giving you a hard time, because God bless your heart. Because I've only got 3 and you had a whole other one to do this for, and I don't know how.
She had y'all so close together too.
I mean, seriously, like, it's crazy. And I just couldn't.
Why do you think I have one?
I know. I mean, to be fair, if God hadn't, you know, done an Uno reverse, like, there's a good chance I would have had one.
And, you know, who knows who that Alyssa would be today, though.
I know.
I don't know. I feel like some of what you went through unfortunately shaped you, and that good old cliche, because I don't know, I just can't imagine only you and Ella right now. It
would be kind of boring, I won't lie.
No, those boys give me life. Ella does too, but, like, you know, they're different dynamics.
They are.
I agree with you, though. I had no idea about any of what to expect when it came to motherhood, but I feel like I define mental load, or maybe define's not the right word, but tie it together with the household mental load. Like, I felt like I really started to notice it when I was just managing the emotions of the household. That was really a big strain on me personally. Like, there was just some dynamics there that were hard. There was always something going on, and it was always managing the emotions as well as the literal load of motherhood.
I feel like I didn't quite have that. And I think that it's probably because he wasn't in the house as much. You know what I mean? Like, you know how they say, like, when you're in a stressful situation, fight, flight, or flee, right? Homie he's kind of a fleer,
Yeah.
right? When he's in an uncomfortable situation, he tends to, you know, go in his garage, which is cool. Like, I'm glad you have a safe space. I'm not mad at it.
I wonder if he still does that.
We'll never know. Like, I'm not mad at it. Like, I'm glad that he had a safe space that was still attached to our house. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm glad that he wasn't out drinking at a bar or whatever. There's a lot of worse places you could have been. I'm glad that you were in the garage tinkering on your Jeep. Like, I feel like the kid's dad is also not very emotionally expressive, like, especially in comparison to me, right? So he actually told me one time that he felt like he had to walk on eggshells around me, which at the time I was very offended by. But after, like, looking back and actually, like, being, you know, self-aware about the situation, I could see it, because I am a person who wears my emotions and my expressions very, like, I can't hide it. And so I could see that. We haven't had, you know, a heated emotional conversation in a very long time. We're very far removed from that. But, like, that was something that we did struggle with, because as we've talked about before, like, I am a person where if there's a problem, I want to get to the root of it. I want to figure it out. I want to solve it. And he wants to, hey, I'm going to go in my garage for a little bit. Can we talk about this maybe in 6 months? Bye. You know? And so he did. He told me one time, he was like, I feel like I have to walk on eggshells around you. And if I bring something up to you, then it turns into this whole big thing when I just wanted to say something and then walk away. At the time, I was so offended, and I was like, what do you mean?
That's also not healthy communication.
No,
on his
it's
end.
for sure not. And so I feel like that's why, like, I didn't really have that kind of mental load of, like, having to manage the household emotions, because the only real emotions that I was managing were, like, mine and the toddlers. And my kids are very much the kind of kids where, like, their emotions are very closely tied to mine. Like, they have that personality type. So, like, if I'm in a grumpy mood, they're going to be in a grumpy mood. And so, like, if I could just keep the vibes rolling, then like typically their vibes are also rolling, and we're all in a pretty decent place. So yeah, I don't know. I will say keeping up with household tasks was something that was very fucking overwhelming. I really struggled with that until I became a single mom.
Why do you think it shifted?
I no longer, actually I told him this. He came over to the apartment one time, like a month after I moved in. And he was like, wow, noticed you've been keeping this place real clean. And I said, yeah, it's actually really crazy how easy it is to, like, keep something clean when I don't feel like a teenager and my dad is about to yell at me every 5 seconds. Yeah. It's crazy because, like, it's insane how much I struggled to do a task. I don't know if this is me being immature or if this is some sort of mental game type. I don't know what this is, but I remember being at home and, like, staring at the laundry or staring at the dishes and being like, I don't want to do this, and knowing that if he came home and saw that they weren't done, he would be mad, and that made me not want to do them more.
I don't know, because
Did you also experience that?
Well, I had the same thing with, like, he had all these things that he expected of me each and every day when he comes home. Like, dinner's cooking, dishes are done, everything's cozy, candles are lit. Like, he wanted to come home to a clean house, laundry's done, all those things every day. And so he had his expectations of me. And he would also be very upset if it wasn't done. But I did the opposite, where I was trying so hard to prove him wrong, because he'd always say that I did nothing all day. No matter how clean it was never clean enough. And so, like, I almost had this, like, opposite reaction. I just tried to prove myself, prove my worth. Like, I am doing these hard things. I'm doing it. Why can't you see it? And he would never see it.
Yeah, like, I can't explain it. But, like, I would know that he would be mad if I didn't do them. And so it would make me want to do them less.
It's interesting. I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that is.
It's a rebellious...
Either. It's some sort of rebellious thing.
Sort of rebellious thing.
But like, here, like, don't get me wrong, I still hate to do the dishes and the laundry, but, like, I still do them, and it's more of, I'm doing this because I need to do the laundry for my kids. Mm-hmm. I need to do the dishes for my kids. Like, it's not, I need to do this or I'm going to get in trouble.
Absolutely.
It's, I need to do this because it needs to get done. And it's so much simpler.
I understand why you did it. Like he had these expectations of you as well. And he also shamed you a little bit. It might have been unknowingly, but he shamed you because he saw all these other moms and he thought it should be that easy, but he was not even walking in your shoes every day. So he had no idea in reality.
I also just sat on my phone all day.
I'm really proud of us. We've really escaped some bad habits.
But yeah, once I became a single mom, though, I would like to know the actual science behind why the mental load seems to cut in half.
Because you've lost a whole person, dude.
So, like, I have talked to so many moms in the last, I mean, it's almost been 2 years since we've been separated. And I have talked to so many people and they're like, oh my gosh, how are you doing it? Or like a couple of them are like, hi, you know, I want to leave my husband or my boyfriend or whatever, but I'm scared and I'm worried. And I'm like, bro, just fucking do it. Just fucking do it. Like, I've said it so many times, but this is not the hardest thing I've ever done. Don't get me wrong. It's hard work. It's hard work, especially if you're not in a place to like rack up some money before you go, right? Because like neither of us had any money to our names before we actually left.
Sure didn't.
So if you're not in a place to like have a couple grand in the bank before you dip out, I mean, at several points in the last couple years, I've been out here working 60 hours a week, but it is not the hardest thing I've ever done. I am the happiest I have been in the last 7 years. I'm living my best life.
You are.
Like, I am so happy. My kids are so happy. You know what I mean, though?
Yeah.
Like, it is. It's hard work, but it's not hard.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But my experience was slightly different. But
It was.
You are living your best life. And I do understand, though, like, it's weird how cutting out that one aspect alleviates a lot of that day-to-day stress that you were feeling.
Yeah.
And I understand that part because I do feel like I experienced some of that. The divorce for me was very hard.
Yeah.
Going through the actual divorce was difficult.
I don't think leaving for you was hard. I think he tried his very best to make it as hard as possible. I don't think it was the actual act of leaving and deciding that you wanted a divorce. I think he just saw every single opportunity he could to make it hard and took it and ran.
Yeah, well, I mean, I obviously hurt him so deeply.
You broke your family.
Did.
Cheeky bastard.
I think what's been difficult for me is that the way our custody schedule is set up, I do struggle because for almost 4 years, I was a mom pretty much full time other than when I had to go to work. We had our rhythm, our day to day, and now it's every other week. My son is constantly adjusting to new things thrown at him. Even though I don't get along with his father, I try to keep things across the board the same as much as possible. But at the end of the day, he's in 2 homes. Every other week, he is switching back and forth. And it's just made for some really difficult transitions that have not dissipated even to this day.
Yeah.
Because I think it's almost 3 years we've been on the schedule. And it honestly does not work. If you're considering a divorce, do not do 7 days on, 7 days off in your custody agreement.
They don't recommend 7 days off, 7 days on, 7 days off until kids are like in middle school.
Yeah.
They don't recommend it unless you're in a high conflict divorce, which unfortunately you are.
Yeah. I still struggle. I literally cry when Preston goes to his dad's. I always have this like heavy feeling of sadness, and nowadays usually by the next day I'm okay, but for a while it was lasting almost the entire week. It never gets easier sending your child away, especially when you had them with you for so long.
Yeah. It's hard.
It's really hard. And his father and I still butt heads on pretty much everything. I do agree with you. It is easier to be a single mother, but then going into dating, there was also things to navigate with that.
Yes and no. I feel like we're going to have different views on this because of how long I waited to introduce kids.
Yeah.
I feel like that played a really big part in kind of like the construction of expectations. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Simply because when I realized how much easier it was to be a single mom, maybe this is just a me thing. Like, maybe this isn't actually a universal experience. I've even talked to Joy about this at work, because this is something that is very true in literally every aspect of my life. For example, at work, if you and I are coworkers and we're on the floor together and we're meant to be closing, and you are not doing your job, you're not helping with the closing duties, it's going to make it feel harder for me and more overwhelming for me to do everything on the list just because you're in the building. If you were not in the building and I still had to do all the closing duties by myself, it would feel 100 times easier. Because the perceived idea that someone is there that could help and isn't helping me, it sends my nervous system into chaos. Mm-hmm. But if there is no perceived help, I'm able to handle it.
I feel the exact same way as you, but I think my expectations of it were just different.
Okay.
Like, I know exactly what you're talking about with relationships and, like you said, with work. But going into it, I kind of rolled in like, whoever this is, my kid is not their responsibility. Like, I wanted a partner and I wanted to believe there was someone out there for me who wanted to genuinely love and help and build a family and a life together. But, like, I think I just set my expectations up to, like, that's not going to happen.
That's valid.
I think that's how I set it up in my brain. And so going into dating, I don't know, like, does Henry do stuff? Yes, but it's also, I haven't really put a whole bunch of care, or asked a whole bunch of care tasks of him, and like,
so what would you consider a care task?
He steps in, like, naturally on his own for certain things, but I'm not asking him to help with the carpool schedule. I don't ask things of him unless I'm busy for whatever reason. Cooking him dinner, making him breakfast, waking him up for school, doing Preston's laundry, getting him in the bath, just any day-to-day care tasks and or adjacent things. Naturally, he does those things on his own, but I just never put it on him unless I'm working. That's the only time I do expect or ask something, but I'm always communicating it.
Okay.
I don't ever just put on the calendar I'm working and then dip out. For example, this last Friday I had a wedding. So I was able to wake up, take Preston to school, go home, get ready. But I needed someone to pick Preston up, so I had to communicate that to him ahead of time and, like, say, hey, can you pick Preston up? And then Henry went and picked him up and took him to Dave & Buster's and then Red Kitchen.
I know. It's so cute.
So I don't know. I mean, does Henry do things on his own? Absolutely. And I try to make sure I always appreciate him for them, but I just don't expect him to do anything. I kind of put it all on myself. And maybe that's not the right way to do it, but...
I mean, I don't think there's a right way or a wrong way. Like, so that kind of goes back to what I was saying, like, the building of expectations, right? The communication of expectations. So this was something that last year I kind of hyper fixated on. I don't know if you remember, even, this was pre Bryson, but last year I had kind of a full blown panic attack about what it would look like if I did decide to fall in love with someone, and what were the different ways that people did that, and how would I want it to look. And because I grew up in a blended family, right? Like, in every possible way. Like, both of my grandparents remarried, and like my mom remarried, like my aunts have remarried, like, you know what I mean? Like, everyone that I know is blended in some sort of way.
So it's not new to you.
It's not a new concept to me, but when I sat down and actually thought about it, I couldn't think of one example of a blended family that I looked up to.
That's a really good way to put that.
Like, there were bits and pieces for sure that I could say, wow, like, I would like to take this aspect of what they did here, and I would like to implement that in my family. But as a whole, there wasn't one blended family that I could say, wow, I looked up to them. They did a really good job. And so I hyperfixated. And I read a couple books. I listened to a lot of podcasts. I watched a shit ton of YouTube videos. And there's a lot of different ways to do it. Like, there's this one family on YouTube. I don't agree with them, but I like to watch their videos, where they each have a handful of kids. I think total in the family there's like 7 kids. And they don't parent each other's children at all. So to my understanding, like small things like picking on your brother and sister, hey, stop picking on your brother and sister, right? Like, I'm to my understanding, those kinds of things are like allowed. But any kind of, anything bigger than that, it's a, hey, when your dad gets home, we're going to have a conversation about that. Or when your mom gets home, she's going to want to talk to you about this, that sort of thing. And immediately when I saw that, I had like a gut reaction. I was like, absolutely not. And I talked to Bryson about this recently because we had our first he had to use his big boy voice.
Oh, with Ella.
Because my kids are generally well-behaved kids. It's not very often that I actually have to like discipline my kids. And Ella just so happened to just lose her shit one time when we were all together. It was a whole discipline thing. And afterwards he was like, do you hate me for getting onto your kid? And I was like, no. Like, if we are going to be a unit, like, you're gonna have to get onto her. Like, if she is going to be your stepdaughter, like, you're gonna have to get onto her. Like, I don't want to live in a house where these are my kids. I refuse to do it.
I mean, you did it.
I did it.
I think that's a big thing, is you did it.
I refuse to live in a house where these are my kids. I refuse to live in a house where I'm the only one disciplining them. I refuse to live in a house where I'm the only one bonding with them. I refuse to live in a house where these are my kids. Like, that's the bottom line. I've said it time and time again. I don't want a partner who just loves me. I will not settle for a partner who just loves me. I will not even settle for a partner who loves me and just likes my kids. I won't do it. You have to love my kids. That's so important to me. And I want you to love them. Now, is he going to see these kids like his actual own? Probably not. I'm not that naive.
I think certain people do have the capacity in their hearts for that, though.
But I also am one of those people.
Yes.
I know it's not common.
It's not, but it does happen.
I don't expect that of people. I don't expect people to be willing to die for other people's children like I am. You know what I mean? Like, I know that's a bit extreme, but it's very important to me that if we are going to get married, move in together, do all the things, if my kids are going to be living under your roof, those are your kids too. I grew up with a stepdad he was my dad. Was he perfect? Absolutely not. But he never once made me feel like his stepdaughter. I will give him that. We give credit when credit is due, and he gets the credit for that. Never once did I feel like that man's stepdaughter. And that's a gift that I will never be able to repay him for, because I didn't have a dad. I didn't. Mine was shit. Mine was in prison. At least this one came home from rehab sometimes.
I was about to cry, and then you just did that. So good. Keep going.
And so, I don't know.
I don't think you're alone in that thought, because I understand completely. And I think a lot of single moms can attest to it. That is a big one. It's terrifying to think about. But there are relationships where the step parent doesn't love the kids and or like them or really want anything to do with them.
I've seen it. And so that was one of the biggest reasons why I did wait so long to introduce the kids, is because I wanted to be sure that this was a person that I wanted my kids to be like, right? Because if we get married, we fall in love, we move in together, whatever, you turn out like your parents. As much as we hate to say it, you pick up mannerisms, you pick up morals, beliefs. Is this a person who I wanted my kids to turn out like? The answer was a blaring fucking yes. This is the nicest man I've ever met in my entire life. And I wanted to make sure that he understood the gravity of 3 kids. And then it was just very slowly increments of time spent with the kids, because I didn't want to overwhelm any of them.
Any of the 4 people involved. And
sense. But yeah, I do expect, if we're out in public and one of the boys needs to go potty, if I'm helping one of the other kids with something else, take the kid to go to the bathroom. I do expect that.
Yeah.
I do expect things like that. Or if something happens, he's on emergency pickup lists already. If there's an emergency, you bet your ass if Kinder Care can't reach me, Dylan, my mom, you, Danny, you know what I mean? They're calling Bryson at some point. He's on the list. Yeah. There are expectations that these are your kids too. You're in the cult, homie.
Once you're in, there's no getting out.
Once you're in, there's no getting out. Okay?
Good luck.
Even on Thanksgiving, Ella was like, Mom, can you curl my hair and do my makeup? And her brothers were going crazy. And I said, you know what? Sure. I said, Bryson, come get your kids. Take them outside. He said, all right. Took the twins outside so me and Ella could have girl time. I expect those things.
Yeah. No, I get what you mean. I do, because, when we're out in public, Henry is with us. He'll take Preston to the bathroom naturally. It's not even a question. I don't have to ask him to do stuff. If I'm getting ready and I've told Preston to get dressed, he'll make sure, hey, bud, it's time to get dressed. Do what your mom said. He is parenting with me, but I don't have that expectation. And honestly, as you were talking about this, I think my brain's just a little bit broken. Not to be dramatic with it. I think I still have a lot of unhealed stuff, because, we all know I got some abandonment issues. I'm a fleer when I feel like somebody could abandon me. I'm very much anxious attachment, but if I get super avoidant if I feel like
you do.
I don't know. So because of that, I feel like maybe I twisted it in my head a little bit. And so I don't know how to let someone in fully in that way, even 2 years of living together, because I'm not going to lie. The only thing we fight about is parenting Preston, and not in a, you're not fulfilling my expectations way, more of a, he wants so desperately to be a full on parent role in Preston's
and you don't
life.
Let him.
And it does not come naturally to me, and it's really difficult.
I know.
It is really hard, and I don't know how to, because I think I don't want to be disappointed. I don't want to have expectations and then it become a problem. I've had a marriage fail, and a majority of the reason our marriage failed was because of who he became when we had a child. And do I think every person becomes a emotionally abusive asshole when they have children? No, but I had expectations that my son's father wasn't going to be that way. I dreamt of this whole life in my head of who my husband at the time was going to be as a father and a partner, and he was none of those things, and I just couldn't do that again, and I still can't sometimes. I want the same things you're talking about, but I don't physically know how to let myself have them.
Cheryl, come back to work. Where you at, sister?
I know. I need to go to a therapist if Cheryl won't see me, but it sounds like a whole lot of lore to catch someone up on, and I just really don't feel like doing that.
No, that's
So-
really hard. That's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like if you guys also, I don't want to use the word rush because I don't think you guys rushed, but you did kind of jump.
We went fast, but not.
It wasn't rushed. I don't feel
Yeah.
like that's the right word, but you did go a lot faster than I did. But I feel like if I had gone at the same pace as you guys had, I probably would have had a lot of the same feelings.
Yeah.
I feel like the fact that we're going a lot slower is maybe why it's easier for me, is because it's kind of like exposure therapy versus you were just kind of like thrown in the deep end.
Yeah. I know you don't mean literally, but like I know what it feels like when you're going through the motions, like you just want something desperately, you're rushing, you're pushing for it, versus this is just like what felt right and natural. And what we were talking about earlier, like I was so happy being a girlfriend, and I'm enjoying being a fiance, and I will love being a wife, but I've been so happy and in the moment, so I was able to be very self-aware and check my heart. I stand by why I introduced Preston to Henry earlier on. My son is the most special human in the world, but it's going to take a special person to also like jump in. I do not regret introducing Preston and Henry when I did. I really needed to know that somebody was going to be able to care for Preston and like him and love him. I guess I wanted to make sure that he like knew what he was getting into, because I know that emotionally it would hurt more later on. So I don't regret that aspect, but I agree with you. Like it probably would have been better to wait. Henry loves Preston so much, and he wants to be involved in all aspects, and I have my own issues. And I try my very best to let him be involved, but I still feel like I'm somewhat managing emotions, and maybe that's just a me thing that I just tend to do, where I feel like I need to make sure everybody's okay, make sure that Preston feels like Henry's there for him, but also Henry feels like he has autonomy to discipline or like say no to something that maybe I would already be saying no to, but it's coming from Henry, so it's different. Like
He has to have the autonomy to parent.
he does, and I have to remember that he does love him and he does want to be involved, and he is. But my nature is to protect that side of things, and so I just don't emotionally dip my feet in too deep. And so no expectations. And that's how we got to where I'm at.
Interesting. I wonder what we're gonna do about that.
It's a daily battle. It's hard. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. Because I'm kind of like, I'm literally in the opposite. Like, we don't even live together yet, right? And I feel like I finally have help. I feel like I finally have a partner. Like, I finally feel like when the chaos is chaosing and I'm outnumbered, like, I'm a little less outnumbered. You know what I mean?
I do.
Because it's no longer just me battling 3 goblins by myself. Now I got like an extra person on my team, and I feel like I can like take a deep breath. I think that also a part of it is that when I was married, my kids were kind of too young to be disciplined.
Yeah.
Because think about it, 2 years ago, the twins would have been barely 3. Ella would have been barely 4. Respectfully,
They really didn't need discipline until this last year.
they really didn't.
They didn't.
And their dad and I have very different discipline methods. In general, we're just very different types of parents, which like
You can't know until you know that.
that's it. Yeah, you don't know that until you know.
There's so many things I thought I wouldn't do as a parent that I do, and vice versa.
And not to like shit on him, because I
No.
really in the grand scheme of things, I don't think that he's a bad parent. We're just very different. And the only one who ever brings it up though is Ella.
Of course, your girl's gotta.
Such a little shit. And so like I think one of the biggest differences that I'm seeing in this season of parenthood that we have is screen time. And I haven't confirmed this necessarily with him, but it's seeming like they get a lot more screen time at his house. Ella will be like, well, at daddy's house.
But that also just may be a child divorce thing too.
It might be. It
still may be true. I think kids kind of figure out the older they get, like that they can kind of play both sides a little.
And so she'll be like, well, at daddy's house. And I'm like, well, that's so cool that you have 2 parents with 2 different houses.
I know. This.
How lucky are you?
This last week, his dad started doing a movie with him every night.
Yes, I heard.
Which, like, great. Glad you're doing that. But then this next week, he wanted to do a movie every night. And we don't normally do screen time during the school week. Like, that is a hard no for me because it's too hard on him to turn it off. But I felt the parent guilt
But yeah, so like things like that, like small things, like they have iPads at dad's house, stuff like that. Versus I'm very much like, go figure out how to be bored.
That's a very important part of childhood, though.
Like you're 4 years old, go be bored. You can figure out how to be bored. You want to go outside and run circles around the backyard? Go run circles around the backyard. Go ahead, go run laps. Go make a fairy house. Go do what you got to do. Go outside, go play. And so we're in a season where like my kids are finally needing discipline for the first time. Mm-hmm. We don't really do parenting the same way, and so that's making things kind of tricky. These kids they're wearing my ass out. I'm not gonna lie. Now I have a partner, and it's crazy. The first time that Bryson like got onto my kids, I remember being like, my jaw just dropped to the floor. Because respectfully, the only people who have ever like gotten onto my kids are like you and Joy and my mom. And even then, you guys are very like gentle parent to the max. Like, it's nice. I really do feel like it's not even just having a partner. Maybe it is really specifically Bryson, because this is so disgusting, but he really sees. Fix your face. Disgusting.
Never.
And he never lets me live this down. Taking out the trash. That's something I really struggle with, because at the end of the night, I'll come through the living room and the kitchen and I'll sweep up the floor and pick up the mess and I'll throw all the trash away. The trash bag will be filled up. I'll tie it up. I'll put it next to the door and be like, oh, I'll take it out in the morning. And then in the morning, my hands will be full. I'll have everyone's backpacks. I'll have my own backpack. I'll have my lunch for the day. I'll have all the things, and I'll be like, fuck.
Yeah.
I don't have a hand for the trash bag. And so the trash bag, sure shit, gets left by the front door, and I'll be like, oh, I'll just have to, like, when I get home today, we'll make a run to the dumpster real quick. I don't have a choice. I don't have valet trash anymore. I don't live in that bougie apartment on 1488 anymore.
And valet trash?
I did. It was so fucking nice.
That's awesome.
It was so nice. But, like, he sees the things that need to be done, and then he does them.
Yeah.
He sees the trash needs to be taken out, so he just takes the trash out. Or when my headlight went out, he came over at 8 o'clock at night to replace my headlight so that the next morning when I was driving all 6 of mine and Joy's kids to school the next day, I didn't run the chance of getting pulled over if we left while it was still dark outside. There was one time where this was so cute. It was one of the first couple times that I stayed the night at his house and like left stuff there, and I had left a face cream, and the next morning he was like, hey, you left this, do you need this? Do you need me to bring it back to you today? And I was like, gosh, you're so cute. It's things like that. He's very good at anticipating needs.
Yeah.
And that's something that I'm good at.
You are.
For example, if we're hanging out and I know that there's a good chance you're going to stay the night, I'm going to make sure that I have an extra contact case. I'm going to make sure that my face wash isn't empty. I'm going to make sure that I have the things that I know you need to stay the night.
You literally used to stock your fridge with non-dairy yogurt when you were in your yogurt era, so I could have yogurt with you.
I very much pride myself in being a person who, like, is good at anticipating what other people will need, because I feel like it's just a very good way of saying, hey, I see you and I love you. This is a very small way of me being able to show you that I love you and I know what you need, and here, don't worry about this. I checked it off your list. And he's very good at that.
And he's implementing it with your kids now.
Yes. And so that's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Like, where do you feel like you're at with mental load?
I don't feel like the mental load of motherhood is gone. I feel like that has stayed the same. I feel like the mental load of parenthood is starting to be shared. Mm-hmm. Right? He's starting to think about putting the kids in sports and what sports they would like. And he's looking up different leagues and where they practice at and what times they practice at. And he's pulling out hockey sticks and baseball gloves, and he's looking up t-ball things and all of this stuff. He's very much planning all these things that I wouldn't fucking think about. I don't know how you put kids in sports. I know how to sign a kid up for dance class. I can do that. That's easy. You walk into a dance studio. Gymnastics, I could probably figure that one out. You walk into fucking Cypress Academy. You figure it out.
They have phones, you know.
Fuck off. I'm sure you could even do it online these days. It's things like that. Or like the bunk beds.
He made a space in his home for your children.
Yes.
Even before you lived together.
Even before we lived together. We're talking, what, 7-8 months before we're even planning on moving in together? He said, let's make a space for the kids. And he's got plans for it. Eventually, I want to clean out this space for Ella. He's got these dreams and these plans for these kids that he didn't even create.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy to me. And it brings me so much peace to know that, like, he loves these kids enough to be thinking about them in his free time.
It's a beautiful thing.
It's crazy.
I'm really happy that you have that.
It's so disgusting.
It just brings me so much joy to see you be loved and your children be loved. I don't know where I'm at, honestly. I think my journey with mental load has ebbed and flowed so much.
I think it will.
I do think I have a lot more work to do when it comes to sharing the load, the parent load, as you called it, with Henry. I think I'm a really harsh critic on myself when it comes to motherhood. Always have been, because I have a lot of really amazing mothers in my life that I look up to. You, my mom, my sisters, Lauren, Corey, they are all kick-ass moms, and I've gotten to watch them firsthand parent their children more times than I could count. And I see the love and the kindness and the patience they exude. And I think we all can feel this way sometimes, where we just feel like all we're doing is getting onto our kids in certain seasons of life. And I don't know, I just feel like sometimes I'm really harsh on myself because I only get to be a mom 2 weeks out of the month now. I feel like I really overthink every interaction I have with my son, and I just hope when I'm sending him off to his dad's, he still knows how much I love him, even if we had a harder week.
I think he does.
I hope so, but
he tells me all the time how cool you are. He also looks me dead in my eye and tells me how much cooler you are than me. So actually, I don't know if that means that you are actually cool or if he's just trying to be mean to me, but he still says it.
He is my heart and soul in human form.
I know.
And like when he cries, it still affects me just as much as when he was an infant. You know, like that motherhood thing where they cry and your brain feels like it's on fire. Like I still feel that way.
That still happens to me with Ella.
It's really hard.
That's why that one over Thanksgiving break, that's why Bryson had to step in. It's because the twins can cry. Mm-hmm. The twins can cry, and I can sit there with a straight face and I can deal with it. But when Ella cries, my nervous system shuts down. And I don't know if it's just first kid thing. I don't know if it's just because our postpartum experiences with them was so bad. Like, I know in theory, my postpartum experience with the twins should have, like, on paper was worse. But, like, mentally, it was better because I was able to, like, detach myself from it so much. But, like, her cries, they fucking send me.
Yeah. The mom guilt is still so real. I've been almost 7 years in. Like, I know we all want this for our kids. I'm not pretending like I'm some unique parent. But I really want to implement so much love and kindness into him, and I want him to be a good human. I want him to be a strong, capable person. I want all those things that we all want for our children. And I feel like every week I have this like mom guilt and my like intrusive thought, just like, you're fucking him up, bro. You're messing him up. You shouldn't have done it. You should have handled that situation differently.
You're not the only one.
And it's so hard to let go of. I guess it feels like it ties into the mental load for me because I'm a part-time mom, but I'm a full-time mom mentally. Like, I'm never not thinking about him. I'm always wondering, like,
you're not the only one.
Yeah, no, I know.
It's normal. My kids went to their dads today, and I still struggle with feeling like a bad mom when my kids go to their dads. But they have to go to their dads. They have to see their dad. They have to have a relationship with their dad. Like, I can't keep my kids from their dad. But then the part of my brain is like, you're a bad mom because your kids aren't with you. Like, I think I told you that one of the first times that I like hung out with Bryson's family, I remember sitting there and thinking that they were going to think I was a bad mom because my kids were with their dad. Mm-hmm. And I like couldn't even enjoy hanging out there because the entire time I was just like, wow, they're judging you because your kids are with their dad. And when, like, in actuality, like, I had the kids the 2 weekends prior to that. Like, this was like the first weekend they had gone to their dads like in 2 weeks. And I was like, what the fuck is wrong with my brain? Like, I was sitting there and I could not even focus on the conversation because I was just like, you're a bad mom. You're a bad mom. And I was like, why am I a bad mom? Because my kids are with their dad. Like, it's normal. That's what they're supposed to do.
Yeah. Well, and it's so hard because in the hardest seasons of our lives, we didn't get breaks.
Yeah.
And now we're forced to have breaks. And now we don't want them. And it's really difficult because we also need to like somewhat appreciate the downtime.
I don't want it.
But we don't
give my kids.
Yes, exactly. When I was in the really bad parts of postpartum, I used to spend all the time, thinking like, oh, I'm so exhausted. I need a break. I need help. I need this. I need that. And then I technically got it, 4 years later. And I just was like, I take it back. I want my child all the time.
I literally used to joke all the time. I'm talking like as far back as like 2021. We used to joke and we used to say, we should get a divorce so that we could have just 50-50 custody.
And you didn't see the divorce coming.
Like, we used to say that out loud to each other, like, at the dinner table. And I'd be like, fuck, yes, actually, that sounds so nice. And now we're actually here, and I'm like, give me my kids back.
No, literally, give me my
You got
child.
them for a couple hours. Can I have them back now? I miss them.
I miss him so much. I mean, I'm, like I said, almost 3 years into this custody schedule of a week on, week off, and it's still really, really hard.
I couldn't imagine. He had them for a week over Thanksgiving, and that was the longest he had them. I think it was I think it was 8 days. Or maybe it was 7 full days, something like that. I don't know. It was the longest that he had them straight. And I remember he ended up bringing them home a little bit earlier in the day than he had originally planned. And he was like, hey, we're rolling in. I said, I'm ready. Let's go. Where are my kids? Give me my kids. I want my kids. Give me my kids.
For Thanksgiving, I got him the Friday break let out. So I think I had him for like 10 days. And I was just like, cherishing it. The flip-flopping is the hardest part for Preston and probably me as well. It's just been hard. And so that's the mental load on motherhood.
And also kind of the inside scoop on our divorce a little bit.
Can we get in trouble? Like, is it considered?
I don't think so. I didn't slander the man.
Did I?
I don't think so.
Is it considered slander if it's true? That's the actual question. Well, I do think that our divorces tie in with our mental load a lot. I feel like it goes on more than we realize. And I think people stay in marriages a lot for the kids. I wouldn't change a thing. I needed to be out of that marriage for so many reasons. But I understand why people stay.
I was willing to stay.
And I thought you were crazy.
I even told Dylan, I was like, we can figure something out. You can go get a side piece. Yeah. Like, I was willing to stay because it just made the most sense to me. Yeah. I was like, let's just figure out a way to make it work until our kids are big, and then we'll reassess.
Yeah, and
it just made the most sense to me.
The mental load of motherhood can feel very overwhelming and daunting, and you have this person who maybe isn't stepping up. Maybe you're starting to resent your partner, but on the other, there's this whole world that you don't know, and you don't know how things will turn out, and your kids will no longer be with you all the time. There's just so many layers to it.
And it looks so different for everyone.
It does.
It's so individualized, and like it's one of those things that you don't understand until you actually live it. Like we both said, like before we had kids, we had no fucking clue. Yeah. We had no fucking clue what we were signing up for.
It's truly mind-boggling to look back at how unaware we were. Blissful ignorance was key.
I know.
We would love to hear anything you want to share about your mental load. If you're still honestly in like the throes of it, if you feel like you're on the other side a little bit, like just
and if you ever want to, if you are in the throes of it and you ever just need someone to chat with,
we got you.
Yeah,
we're both very much open door policy, and we don't even have to make it weird. We can literally sit and do nothing in the same room.
Yeah, we're really good at that.
We enjoy it, but we know what it's like.
Unfortunately,
but
fortunately for you,
we're here. Thank you guys, as always, for listening. We hope you enjoy this. All right. That's all, folks.
TGYL.
XOXO.
Gossip Girl.
We need a better sign off. What is it?
I know.
We've done that 3 times now.
I know. We need a better one. Did you ever look into the copyright? Can we call them grave diggers?
I did not look into the copyright. Can we just say see you next time?
Catch you on the flip side.
That works.
Motherfuckers. Mic drop. I'm about to piss, mate.